Hey guys. Well, all right. I was trying to get it to stream in landscape and it has absolutely no interest in doing that. So we're not doing that today. But hello, everybody. I'm going to give us a few minutes to let people get in and get settled. But hello from Colorado Springs, Colorado, where it is a crisp 20-something degrees outside and absolutely cold. So I'm happy to be inside. I'm grateful to have food, warmth, and shelter today. So wherever you're at, I hope you're having a brilliant day before retrograde. So we are actually going to talk about the Mercury retrograde that is coming up tomorrow. Oh, happy birthday. So happy birthday if anybody is having a birthday out there, or if I've missed a birthday, happy birthday to you. But we are going to talk about Mercury retrograde in Scorpio, and then a little bit later, probably just after this video, I am going to do a breakdown of the full moon coming up in Taurus on November 12th. But let's stick with the Mercury retrograde for right now. Oh man, it's coming up tomorrow. I can't even believe that tomorrow is Halloween. It's October 31st. I cannot believe it. So wherever you are in the world, whatever you're celebrating right now, we're all going into Mercury retrograde together. So hold hands and we'll make it through. Now keep in mind a couple things. Mercury retrograde is for everybody, right? No one is exempt from Mercury retrograde. So one of the things I always try and encourage people to do is to have a lot of grace during Mercury retrograde. So it will last from October 31st until November 20th, okay? So have a lot of grace with people. We're all trying to move forward, but our thinking, Mercury, our mental planet, is moving in a state that is backwards, right? So if we're all walking forward but looking backwards, we're definitely going to run into each other. We're definitely going to bonk into each other. So just try and step back a little bit, have a little grace with everybody, with yourselves, as mistakes or anger or anxiety come to the table, because those are definitely things that are prone to happen during this particular time, okay? Not to mention we've got Mercury retrograding in the energy of Scorpio, which I don't care what anybody says, this is not a sign to be fearful of, to put a lot of negative influence on. It's not that, but Scorpio does bring the energy that it brings to the table, right? As being co-ruled between Pluto and Mars, there's an intensity here that will be a part of this retrograde, not to mention that Mercury does not leave the energy of Scorpio until December 9th in the first place. So we've had a lot of this just Mercury and Scorpio energy to be going back and forth with in the first place. So whether you are a newbie to this retrograde or to astrology, or you have been, it's old shoe, you know all about Mercury retrogrades, I'm going to break this down just a little bit, and I'd also like to cover a couple of the aspects that will be happening as helpers and what the retrograde can do to help you truly in that energy of Scorpio have a transformation, have an evolution of your mind, and also of maybe some processes and behavior patterns that you've had going on for a while, that it's just time to make some change, right? And the energies of a retrograde, if you will make friends with a retrograde, the energies are actually here to help you, okay? So first of all, we've got Mercury retrograde that's coming just here on the 31st, which will be tomorrow. But we've also got Mercury doing an interesting thing during its retrograde, and I'll talk to you about that in a second. But first of all, let's talk about what all of these different pieces are and what they mean. Mercury, the planet that is going retrograde, because remember, the planets tell us what is going on, what are we doing, what's the energy being brought to the table. With Mercury, it's our thinking, our decision making, our learning, our patterns, our processing, our communication, right? Other things that fall into the realm of mercurial things have to do with how we analyze or how we process things. So these are the things that will be the focus, because this is what Mercury brings to the table. He brings us the what, right? Now, where it's going to be happening will be different in all of your charts. Mercury is going to go retrograde at 27 degrees of Scorpio, so you'll need to locate 27 degrees of Scorpio on your natal chart, or whichever chart you're weighing this against. That's how you'll find out the where. But now you've got the what. You know what's going to be happening. You'll look at where the where is. And if you're not sure how to find that on your chart, I've got a video on how to locate the transits in your chart. And if you don't have a chart, you can either go pull a free one from one of the websites, or you can buy one from me at stormiegrace.com, also in the description box down below of this video, okay? Now, how we're going to get those things done is like a Scorpio. Scorpio is the energy that tells us the characteristics of how we're going to get something done. So in Scorpio, we're going to get deep, right? We're going to go deep. We're probing. We're looking to the root or to the depth of something. We're looking at behavior patterns that are long established. Remember, Scorpio is not only a water energy, so we've got some emotion, we've got some attachment to things, but it's also a fixed energy, right? We're not really interested. We haven't been interested in moving these things around. They've been fixed into place for a very long time. So other things that Scorpio brings to the table are intimacy, control, manipulation, secretiveness, our study of things that are deeper than us, occult mysteries, astrology, numerology, tarot, counseling, healing, things about our own evolution. These all live here. Sex, our sexual identities, they live in this energy and they breathe and they move beautifully through the energy of Scorpio. So now we've kind of got our pieces in place. We've got the what is happening. Communication, patterns, learning, decisions, right? The way that we think about things. Where it's happening will depend on your own particular chart, which arenas of life. But how we're going to get those things done is we're going to dig. We're going to get down there into the truth and we're going to see things because Scorpio wants to see things for what they are, right? We want some truth out of this energy. So we've got the 3 parts in place to know exactly what we're doing here. Now you take all of that brilliance and you retrograde it. Retro means to go back, right? So we're going to take all of that and we're going to go back. So you're going to go back into whatever area of life, whichever house it's happening for you, and you're going to dig and you're going to probe and you're going to look for where you need to evolve, where you need to shed, right? In Scorpio energy, we also shed, we detox, we release. Things that are not working. What is your communication style that's not working anymore? What is that self-talk? What is somebody else's talk happening to you that is not working anymore? Patterns of beliefs, of behavior, of action. What is not working? You're going to look back over those things. Mercury is going to shine an eye to say, this is how I've been thinking. This is what I've believed. This is how I've been learning. This is where I need to be studying or where I haven't allowed myself to study and evolve. Because sometimes in the 8th house we do, or in that Scorpio energy, we do find out that we've been standing in our own ways from our own advancement. Now, this is a side note. Jupiter is getting ready in December to move into the energy of Capricorn. This will set the stage for 2020. It will set the stage. So if you've got learning, if you've got being in your own way happening, you're going to want to clear some of that out so that you can see the wisdom in order to move forward. You need the wisdom to create something solid to move forward. But if you are in your own way, that's very hard to do. So this retrograde serves as a friend to help us with transformation, okay? Now, some of the actual, and I will say this too, Mercury retrogrades, I don't care what sign they are in, are phenomenal for also bringing things from the past back to your table, right? It could be a past intimate relationship. It could be a past sexual trauma. It could be debt coming back to your table. It could be a study of astrology. It could be this counseling program, a coaching program, any of these things. It could be a past lover for sure. They can come back from the past. Whatever comes back from your past or whatever rises to your level of consciousness, welcome it and say, Mercury, what are you trying to help me see here? What do you need to help me see? What do I need to do? Right? Because that is where this energy is going to be able to help you. And you may be able to see it even in your own astrology, right? You may be able to go, oh, okay, here in my astrology, this is where it's happening. And likely you've already gotten a little bit of a preview in the shadow time. Mercury went into shadow October 11th. You've probably already gotten a little bit of a preview of what you need to work on in the first place, right? And that will continue through, but make friends with your retrograde and say, thank you. What do you need me to see so that you can do the work and move yourself forward, okay? Things that we suggest that you don't do during a Mercury retrograde is start new projects, right? If you can avoid that, signing brand new contracts, right? If you can avoid doing those things during a Mercury retrograde, that's the best, mostly because think about it. your brain, your thinking power, the full benefit of your thinking power is backwards for a time, right? So if you're trying to make new contracts or sign them going forward, you might not have the clarity that you would have, and you're literally walking yourself into a situation and you can't see all of the details. It's like they're veiled a little bit. But if you cannot avoid starting a new project, signing that new whatever, starting that new job, you just look over those details more than once, read that contract more than once. If you happen to be embroiled in something that has to do with legal things or things where you are paying off debt, that's a little bit different, because if you sign a new contract to pay off a debt that you already owed, I would still tell you, really look over the details of whatever it is, but those ones are a little bit safer because the debt actually came from the past. So just be mindful. I do not like when astrologers or anybody do this deal where we try and make each other afraid to live our lives because of planetary happenings. I don't believe in that at all. I believe that every single thing out there was built to help us achieve our greatest good by staying in the flow of what's naturally kind of going on and happening. And if you are of a place where you've been able to experience your astrology a little bit, you see that in a lifetime, you are usually handed that exact same lifetime back to do the cleanup, right? You get to clean up your own lifetime in a lifetime. It's really beautiful, but don't get on board with this diseased way of thinking where everything is supposed to scare you. You're supposed to stop your life and only do things 3 days out of the year. That is just not what I believe. Actually, if that helps you and you're on board, go for it. Yes, during Mercury retrograde, you could see that your cell phones, your computers, anything with technological pieces or small conversational pieces could be going a little bit crazy, but that may be your indicator, right? If you will not upgrade that cell phone, fixed energy, it may be time where you're put in a position and you have to upgrade that particular cell phone, okay? So these are the things that we're going to be watching for as we're moving through this retrograde and making and being friends with it to use it to our greatest good. Now, yes, fear mongering is so 20 whatever, but it ain't here. So we're not doing that, okay? All right, so this particular retrograde, I want to tell you, and I talked about it in the November videos. I hope you've had a chance to check them out. Oh, and I hope you guys like the board. We've got the board for the moon as well. But this particular Mercury retrograde is going to do one of the coolest things during its retrograde time that everybody's kind of talking about, and I'm excited to talk to you about it again. Now, on November 11th, Mercury, during its retrograde pattern, right? It's trekking back there in the energy of Scorpio. It's going to do this thing where it walks across the face of the sun. So as he's moving backward in the retrograde pattern, he's going to move right in front of the face of the sun. And this is a cool big deal. Now, first of all, this hasn't happened in the energy of Scorpio since 2006, right? There's really only 13 times per century that this little motion happens. So when it does happen, we get a little bit excited because it's an indicator for us. Right now, the last time we saw it happen in general was in 2016. We'll see it again in, I think, 2032, I want to say. Anyways, don't quote me there, but certainly 2039. So anywho, why this is a big deal is because as Mercury in his little retrograde pattern, he's still about communication, thinking, decisions, all of that good kind of stuff, right? He's in the water, fixed energy of Scorpio, travels back in front of the face of the sun. First of all, depending on where you are on the globe, you can see it. And it just looks like a little black dot, like floating up there with the beaming sun behind it. If you've never seen it, it's very cool. Please watch your eyeballs and eyebrows and all of that stuff. Don't just be looking up there, you guys, and burn your junk off. It's not worth it, right? It's going to bring you a clarity and an insight that you weren't going to get otherwise, and you didn't have to burn your retinas out to get it, okay? So please just keep that in mind. But what this means for us is that it's this little indicator that a small decision, a small conversation, a small insight, Mercury, can make a big impact on our lives, something bigger, the sun. Right? So you've got this little motion where he bonks up right in front of it, and then it's over. It lasts about 5 hours. That's about it. But why you care about that, why that's important for us, is because one small conversation you have that day, one small insight from your past that you have, one small action that you take on something from your past, it's just like emotional clarity at its finest. And it's gonna be something that is a game changer for you going forward. And it may be so small and insignificant that you do not realize the impact of it that day. Some people, depending on where you're tapped in, you may remember that. Now that's gonna happen on November 11th during this retrograde time. So if it's an epiphany, if it's a moment of clarity, if it's a whatever, just know that that day and that moment is productive and is telltale for you and is useful going forward. And that it's a, only one of 13 times per century event. So congrats. I look forward to it being a part of it for all of us. Okay, let's talk about some other things that are going to happen during this retrograde that are helpful to help you think about how to use this as well. And continue to remember, you guys, if you want more details on things that are happening as far as major astrological transits and aspects during the month, you can find that on my blog at stormiegrace.com, where I go a little bit more day by day than I do in even the monthly videos. And then, of course, you can always follow week by week, where I'm giving you a talk about the big stuff that's happening, okay? All right. So Mercury, during his retrograde, is going to make a series of really nice, harmonious aspects, but they're to long-term planets, so they give us long-term help or long-term insight as well. So anything that you're needing to adjust to, or you're needing to correct, you're needing to redo during this retrograde, you're going to have some helpers along the way. That's why I'm saying, do not get on board with all the doom and gloom, okay? These are helpers to us. So, and I will say too, because this is a water energy, this may not be a retrograde where you feel like every change that needs to be made or an adjustment that needs to be made is super profound. In the world of your emotions, this could be very subtle, but it's still going to have long-lasting effects, okay? And it is also the other reason in the energy of Scorpio that I say maybe what you're looking at are long-term patterns, long-term beliefs, long-term things that have been building up for you for a very long time, and now you're needing to go back over them and say, this isn't working, I need to clear space here, okay? Now, Mercury is going to make a whole bunch of series of different sextiles that are going to be helpful to us. Now, one of the set of sextiles is going to be to Saturn, the other will be to Pluto. Now, we've already seen one of those sextiles happen. It would have happened already on October 14th. Mercury is in a sextile to Saturn. We're going to see it again during the retrograde time, which will be November 13th. And then we're going to see it again as Mercury is outside of the retrograde on November 30th. Now, this is important, and use the harmony that's happening here, because it's helping you see the wisdom in structures that you have, or an evolution or an adjustment that needs to be made to some structures that you have in your life. We were talking about belief things, we're talking about debt, we're talking about all of those kinds of things. But I also feel like, because Mercury's a communicator, right? He's all here. Maybe this is you reaching out and going to that class to learn how to manage your debt. Maybe it's you actually going to counseling to move past a trauma that's happened. Maybe it's you watching online videos and learning how to outdo or undo a pattern of belief and behavior. I mean, ultimately, Mercury as the talker and the learner is going to ask for help or go look for information in some way, shape, or form. Remember, he's an information energy. He's a learning energy. Mercury may be showing up at your table and saying, okay, we need to uncover, discover, and discard some things, my friend, so that we can move forward. So just remember, it is okay to ask for help. It is okay to learn something new so that you can unlearn something old that is not serving you. Now, other things we see that the connections with Pluto would have been around the same times, and the last one will actually be December 3rd. Now, with Mercury in a trine to Pluto, this also gives you a nice drive. Even though Mercury is retrograde, it gives you a desire. It gives you a push to want to evolve, to want to change, to say, oh my gosh, I am uncomfortable. I don't like this. I don't like that that's a thing about me. This is new action, right? Fixed energy doesn't necessarily love new action. It's new action, and I am unsure, but I am willing, right? So this is beneficial. Now, on the other side, we've got some trines happening as well. Mercury will move into 3 different sets of trines with Neptune along the same path and power. Now, we saw one happen in October. The other one will be November 13th, and the last one is going to be November 28th. Now, with Mercury in a trine, Now, a trine, in my experience with people, is not as profound as the sextiles. The sextiles, you'll be in motion. The opportunity is there, but you're going to be in motion. With a trine, the energy is just here and it's easy, and it's the opportunity to use it is available, but sometimes we do not. So with Mercury in a trine to Neptune, this is where I think we find a lot of grace during this Mercury and Scorpio time, right? Because it reminds us to be easy. Grace, by the way, is the slack the universe cuts us for being jerks. And sometimes we need that. I know I need a lot of it, right? Especially when I'm telling the universe I know better than the universe knows, and I'm getting in my own way and creating havoc and all of that good stuff. And we all do that at some level. So with this Neptune Mercury trine here, the opportunity to have grace, to have unconditional love, to have forgiveness, to be more gentle with ourselves and others is abundantly available. But it doesn't necessarily mean that you use it. What I would also encourage is, if you can, this is astrology. It's in a spiritual space. Have patience with yourself. Allow yourself to move towards the spiritual answers as to why that is still happening, right? Prime example. I had a woman show up kind of in our little channel sphere here who is hurting. There's a lot of hurting going on, and you could tell by the way she's expressing herself, right? So with a Neptune Mercury trine, what may be something that this person is able to do is to step into the spiritual reasoning of why. What's at the root of the hurt? Remember, this is Scorpio energy. What's at the root of the hurt? Then we use these other sextiles and natural setups to ask for help. So not to point anybody out, but if that is something that you're finding, look back. How have you been showing up in your world? What are you avoiding? Where are you a little harsh? We've got a lot of Mars energy happening right now. Where are you feeling the anxiety or the aggression or the assertion kind of pushing through, making you a little bit edgy? And you can use this trine instead of just letting it sit there to see where you can help yourself through this process for sure. So it is certainly going to be a time during the retrograde, like I said, to make friends with it, but to look back in it. Now, I did make a video as well about how the retrogrades are going to affect you based on your element, but because this particular retrograde is in a water element, I do want to talk to the water signs real fast. So that's Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces, okay? And of course, you can look for these things in your chart in general as well. One of the things I keep getting this sense of for our water energies in this retrograde is that it is really time for you to move out of your own comfort zone, right? There's a lot of personal change that is super available for you as a water energy, or even if you have a high water elemental chart, there is a lot of personal change that is available. And one of the things I continue to think of with Mercury being in this particular position of power or focus right now is, it is okay for you to be seen, for you to be known. It is okay for your identity to not be hidden, but to be out in front. It's this beautiful place where I think you can do anything you want. You can be known for anything that you want, as long as there is some kind of humility that goes first. Then as you move out into other things, I think it is okay for you to be known. Now, Mercury is also very social, and there's a lot of connection that happens with that. So I think it's as equally okay for you to go out and to connect. Be a part of social spheres, be a part of a learning thing, a teaching thing, or look back as to what you want to be a piece of so that you can be a part of that, right? This is a cool time where Mercury is going to do one of these historic little moves that it does once only 13 times per century, right? That's a big deal for all of us to be a part of. So if there's something you've been wanting to do, you've been wanting to be a part of, maybe go back over that and see what's maybe been standing in your way of being able to do that. But for all of us, locate Mercury retrograde in Scorpio on your chart. Well, it'll be retrograde tomorrow. Locate Mercury in Scorpio on your chart, 27 degrees. As we see Mercury come out of retrograde, it will be at 11 degrees. So you can kind of map that and see which house or houses that is working on in your particular chart. From there, you'll just want to look at if it's making any other aspects to anything else in your chart. And remember this, in case you didn't know it, I'm going to tell you, and if you did know it, just remember it. When you're looking at transiting energy, the transiting planet is bringing the energy in. The natal planet is receiving it. Okay, and that's important to remember because you want to know how is it going to spur, how is it going to change and move you and within you. So you need to look at how that natal planet is receiving that transiting energy and then any aspects from there. Again, if you're not sure how to find this in your chart, I've got a beautiful video about how to find the transits in your chart. If you don't have a chart, pull a free one and look at it that way, or you can spend $13 and get your wheel and a report from me so that you have it as you go forward. Now, I hope you guys will stick around here for a little bit if you have time. I am going to let this video close itself out. And then I'm going to come back in just a few minutes and I am going to break down this full moon coming in Taurus November 12th with aspects. We've got a cool aspect happening during that. So I'm going to talk about all of that coming up in about 5-10 minutes. So I love you guys. I love you. Thank you for joining all over the place. We've got Ireland. We've got Canada in here. We've got Turkey in here. People from the United States. Wherever you are from, thank you for your time, and I will see you guys in a few minutes in the next video. And enjoy your Mercury retrograde. Transformation is every bit as a part of what we've got to be doing on this planet as everything else, and California as well. Love you guys. Bye.